take projection.
Welcome everybody to Taking on Sports. I am TD. That is Greg. Greg, how you doing, man?
I'm a little tired, but I am good. How are you this week?
About the same, you know. Just, I guess that's the age we're at, bro, man. Just always
Right.
tired.
Exactly. Yeah.
But good. A peaceful weekend if you're an Alabama football fan, anyway.
That it
Yeah,
was.
the Tide took on Mercer, and did what they should do against Mercer. No major injuries. No, took care of business. Looked good. Get ready for the next week and a trip to Norman, Oklahoma.
Yeah, for sure.
I guess the biggest development with Alabama football yesterday was with Georgia's win over Tennessee last night. It creates a big old cluster, two
Oh,
lost
does it?
teams in the standings, and as of right now, anyway, due to all the complicated tiebreakers that go along with that, it looks like Alabama is in the lead to face the winner of the Texas and Texas
Yeah.
A&M game and the SEC title game. So,
Crazy as that sounds, it sounds like we just went out and one
mhm,
game from Missouri. If I'm reading what people said right, that I'm deemed pretty credible. Sounds like that's kind of what has to happen. Easier said than done, of course. We just got to finish the
mhm,
season, and you never know with their last two games, just because they're prideful programs, and of course the Iron Bowl. It's always a wild one though. It always feels better in Tuscaloosa, but yeah, a
mhm.
big development there.
No,
Considering,
for sure. And I believe it's as long as there are no major upsets that shake things out because of the nature of the tiebreakers, it goes
Mhm.
down to what is it? Wins
Best,
against ranked teams or
yeah.
wins
I
against
think
the.
it's the best winning percentage against your opponents. I
Oh
guess
wait,
we would have
no,
that.
it's like common opponents, and then head to
Yeah.
head obviously is first, then common opponents and rankings, and then what it is here. I got it. It is actually the record of your common opponents, or a record of the opponent, not even common opponents, just the record of the opponents on your schedule. So Alabama's opponents actually have the best record right now,
For the
versus all
likes
of
of,
the
right.
over the other teams, and it's actually a sizable lead, I think, by a few games. So
Huh.
yeah, barring any
Thank you, South
major,
Carolina, Missouri.
yeah, exactly, yeah,
And, the longer the season goes, as crazy as that game was, and how we came out of feeling kind of weird, that South Carolina win is looking much better all the time.
it makes more and more sense, man. We'll get to them in just a
Yeah,
second
they're a
too,
good
but
team. But yeah,
they are. I have something for them in just a bit. But let's go ahead and
yeah.
talk about that game down in Athens.
Oh
Tennessee
wow.
jumped out to a 10-0 lead, and then it was all Georgia from there.
And
Carson Beck looked a lot better than he has in recent weeks. No
probably the
turnovers
best he
from
may
the
have looked all
Dogs.
season. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe outside of like the second half of the Bama game, but
Hmm.
yeah, no, his
Yeah,
best
no
game, full
turnovers.
game of the
Yeah,
season for sure.
for sure.
And a big win for Georgia. It keeps them in the playoff race,
Live.
in the
Yeah.
SEC title race. Yeah, a loss there would have certainly eliminated them from playoff contention.
Hmm.
And it throws Tennessee back into the pack now. And
Oh, yeah.
we'll see how the committee takes that on Tuesday with their
Right.
rankings. But what were your takeaways from the game?
Well, you expected Georgia to bounce back because if it's one thing, when Georgia's back against the wall, Kirby has those guys ready to go. So I expected them to win the game, but the fact that they covered that spread when it was our week at 9.5, 10, I was like, wow. Considering what they just came off of, and I understand, a home game, so that does give you some points in Athens. And I'm sure some of it had to do with Nico's availability and how well he was, how healthy he was coming into that. But I thought that was a pretty big number considering the week that they had had the week prior. But they more than lived up to the expectation. Got out, got down early, and then kind of woke up and like, wait a minute, our season's on the line. We gotta
Mm-hmm.
correct this. This can't be where we end our season at home against Tennessee, a team that we've kind of dominated in the last decade. So.
Yeah, especially like you mentioned at home and getting down that 10-0. Uh, it wasn't a good look, and it was kind of a
No.
great performance. It was crazy though how bad they turned, or and how badly they beat them after turning it around.
Yeah,
That was
because they only had 7 more points after that. So
yeah. After getting down 10-0, Georgia
yeah,
outscored them 31-7 the rest of the game. So,
mm, yeah,
like you said though, Kirby excels at that kind of messaging with his team, and nobody believes in us
yeah,
even when they do. And
it
you know,
does.
he actually had something real to
Roundabout
ran about this week
season was
after they
actually on the line
projected
this
us
time.
the first team out. Yeah, so they're done. Georgia is done with their conference schedule for the year.
All right.
They
It's kind of
have
weird that it's just weird that they're
yeah.
done 2 weeks ahead of time, but that's just
Hmm.
how this new schedule kind of goes for some. But
Yeah, they have
Georgia,
who
Cade
Georgia
game and Georgia
Tech.
Tech, right?
Yeah, they have their whoever their cake game is
FCS.
next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know who it is. But yeah, Georgia Tech in the year with them. But elsewhere, I guess the second biggest news of the day yesterday, BYU goes
Oh,
down at
oh wow.
home to
Yeah.
Kansas.
At home.
A weird, freaky late night game.
Yeah.
Just some uncharacteristic mistakes. BYU, they've been
Yeah.
playing with fire all year. A lot of close games, and
Yeah.
they just
And
couldn't
burnt
get it
them.
done this time.
Yeah.
But just a weird turn of events. They were. It was a close game, and they were about to get the ball back, a chance to take the lead, and Kansas went for a little pooch punt, and it hit off the back
Hmm.
of a BYU player. And as another BYU player dove, he was alert, and he was the only one around it. He dove on it, but he just the ball shot out like 8 yards ahead. Kansas gets the ball in the 2
Hmm.
and scores a touchdown and widens their league to the point where the Cougars just couldn't come back.
Yeah.
So down they go, and again, that'll be
Yeah.
interesting
That
to see
was.
what the committee does with them on Tuesday, right?
Yeah, you would have to think, the committee didn't like them already. So they're
Mm-hmm.
about to, I think they're about to drop the mess out of them, especially a home game against a team. Though Kansas has been playing much better in the last month. I mean, you look at it, they've won a lot
Mm-hmm.
of games, and really their only loss was a 2-point loss to Kansas State. They really picked up things the last month. I mean, they blasted Iowa State. But for me, the biggest turning point was at the end of the first half. It was I believe, a tie ball game, and BYU was rolling up the field, got to like the 5 yard line, and Reslov threw a horrible pass and got
Mm-hmm.
intercepted right before the half in the red zone, and that kind of that would have given them a 7 point lead going into the half, and I think that kind of changed the whole demeanor of the team. They what kind of shot going into that halftime. And then Kansas did a heck of a job, though. I mean, Provo, a tough place to win. I mean, if I didn't think they were going to lose at home like that. And then the other thing too is just how low scoring that game was. I expected
Mm-hmm.
if you look at outside of the Utah game, BYU has scored a lot of points every game, 30 some. Kansas had recently been scoring 30 some. So I expected, man, we might have a little shootout late at night. It makes sense. And man, it was anything but that.
Yeah, a little Big 12 after dark, you thought, but yeah, no, it was a defensive, like I
No,
said, kind of a
yeah,
sloppy game at times too.
right. Yeah.
But like you mentioned, it Kansas has turned it on, and they're playing like the team that everybody thought they were going to be before the
Hmm.
year.
And they can might be bowl eligible at the end of the season, considering they started 1-5. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, they gotta win out, but
Yeah.
good for them. I need to quit picking against them in the column, but
But man,
they've
that was a
burnt me
tough one
now.
for BYU. And now, yeah, just
It was, yeah, and now that the Big 12 gets even more complicated than it
crazy.
already is, man.
Yeah.
Elsewhere in the day, Colorado earlier in the day, a big win at
Wow.
home
Really
over
handle
Utah.
business.
They did. Utah, it kept it closer a little bit, and then Colorado kind of in the second
Yeah.
half just said, "All right, that's enough of this."
Yeah.
And
Ever since that close loss at home with Kansas State when everybody was hurt and they held their own and probably should have won that game, they've been blowing folks out. There hasn't been a
mhm,
question since then for Colorado.
that offense is humming, but and now they're
Yeah, their
tied with
defense
BYU
is
for the lead in the conference.
yeah, exactly because
So,
they only had they only had that one K State loss, huh? Because they had
mhm.
lost Nebraska and that's big. Yeah, wow. So that Hopeful. I would hope that they both just finish out, and that's our Big 12 championship game because I think that'd be a
Yeah, I
good
think
fun
that'd be
one.
a
So
fascinating,
yeah,
contest right there. That'd be a good looking
yeah,
one. And we'll come back to that in a little bit as
yeah.
we look at next week's schedule and stuff.
Sure.
Elsewhere, yesterday, Oregon survived Camp
Oh
Randall.
wow.
I think people knew it could be a tricky, but Wisconsin's really been up and down this year. They just
Yeah.
really haven't found their footing under Luke Fickle, but
Hmm.
they turned it up at night, and
They did.
man, they had their chances.
They really did. Wow.
They had the lead for a while in that game, and
Hmm.
Oregon just grinded it out, and there's a
Yeah.
reason they're unbeaten and number one.
Yeah.
Uh, the Ducks, you got to win those tough games, and
They
especially
do.
now that that's a conference game.
Yeah.
Uh, so a good win for Oregon. A good showing from Wisconsin.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
There are no
I
moral
don't think
victories, but
anybody.
it's better than
Uh,
say getting
what?
blown out. Yeah.
Right. I had a much different game than I expected. I didn't think that Wisconsin really had the athletes to hang a full game with Oregon at this point. But man, their defense held strong all day. I mean, they were in, like you said, they had the lead, and man, Oregon had to fight for their lives in Camp Randall. It was good. It was a good night game atmosphere, great atmosphere as you expect from Camp Randall, and you would hope to Big Ten sees that and maybe starts to get away from that 11 a.m. start.
Yeah.
Let's get some of these bigger games in the prime time window just for that atmosphere perspective. But
No, for sure. It's a great atmosphere. You wish that.
there's a lot of good atmospheres in the Big Ten, but man, at night especially, I don't know. I hope they start getting to that because
Hmm. Yeah, and although I think Fox execs have said they're going to keep doing Big Noon and all that because of
I mean I get it, but you're
the
gonna. I
ratings they
think.
get off of it. But yeah, it's better. The night atmosphere is just better.
But they act like they're not going to get business. I mean, if you got Ohio State and Oregon, for example,
Hmm.
or a big late season game with an undefeated Oregon team going into a tough environment, there's going to be plenty of eyes on it. That's not going to change that
Hmm.
much, I don't think. Like the way people flip around in the forest screen now with YouTube TV, and I don't know if other providers offer that or not. People are going to have their eyes on that game
Yeah, especially in the
in
era of
November.
the multi view and two
Yeah.
screens, and you're going to
Oh,
get
absolutely. Hey, you
your
have your mobile
views.
devices that you can watch
Yeah.
things on. And you have the one on the TV. Like
Hmm.
people are gonna turn to that game, especially they see, oh shit, Oregon's in the dog fight with Wisconsin.
Hmm. Yeah, but like I said, good win for Oregon.
Oh, for
Uh,
sure.
and we mentioned South Carolina earlier. Get back then, they had a good win over Missouri yesterday. Great
What
game.
a game that was! What a
Yeah,
game that was!
outstanding game. Uh, so I got a question for you, but is South Carolina the best team right now that's not going to
Dude,
make the
are they?
playoff?
Are they? They really. Wow. They. I mean, and you look at all their losses outside of that. Uh, Excuse me, the Ole Miss game. I mean, that's could be their. I mean, if you look at it, maybe should or could be their only loss. I mean,
Hmm.
we know way they should have lost to LSU. Our game was up and down. I mean, they had their
Hmm.
chances to win that one. And but man, they've been a whole completely different team the last
Hmm.
month. I mean, they're scoring. That's the thing. Their offense is going now too. They can put
Hmm.
up points. They can figure that out there. It's almost like that South Carolina team from 2 years ago. They really got it going in November,
Hmm. Yeah, they
and
were
now
the
you're like,
November
geez, I don't
national
want to play them.
champs, man.
Yeah,
Uh,
and now
but yeah,
Clemson's probably looking at that game now, like, oh shit,
yeah, that game's a lot. That's going to be a fun one right
very
there.
interesting.
I believe that's in uh,
I believe it's in South
Columbia.
Carolina.
Yeah, I think it's in
Oh
Columbia. Yeah.
wow, wow.
Uh, so that yeah, they are also another team. South Carolina done with their SEC schedule for the year. Finish up
Hmm.
5-3 in conference. Probably
Heck
better
of a
than
run.
people thought they would. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Great. It looks like they got their QB of the future, Lenore Sellers. They got a
'Cause he's
solid year
figuring
out of
things
Rocket
out.
Sanders. Yeah,
He's
he
turning a
has.
bit more than just a runner. He's been completing big passes. And man, Rocket Sanders,
Mm-hmm.
that on that last touchdown run, he said, "I am not leaving it up to this kicker. No way."
Mm-mm. Yeah,
He
he
said,
could
"We're
not
winning.
be
We're not going
denied.
to overtime. We're not going to," because he's had a few chances where he's missed those kicks, as they showed
Mhm.
right before. And Rocket Sanders like, "Not today, sir. We play too hard to lose this one."
Yeah, I know. South Carolina fans will be upset that they don't get uh, any more years out of him as he's running out of eligibility. I do believe
Yeah, yeah.
this year. Let's see. Elsewhere, a few upsets around the country. Arizona State went into
Wow.
Manhattan and beat down Kansas State.
Dominated.
Uh, yeah,
Good, great win for the Sun Devils. Like,
mhm.
wow. And they're still
Yeah,
kind of in that race, aren't they?
Yeah. They're in that. Yeah, they need a couple people to lose in front of them, but sitting there at 5-2, they're right there.
I don't think
Them and
anybody saw
Iowa
that one.
State. Yeah, and I believe when we look ahead to next week, I think they have a big one too. Um, yeah, they host BYU next week. So
Arizona State? Oh,
yeah,
wow.
yeah, that's a big one. But I see
Wow.
Stanford upset Louisville, and it's just
And where did that come from?
a crazy
Yeah.
ending to that game too. Louisville had the ball late, tie ball game at the 50, and just kept getting incomplete passes. And Stanford gets the ball
Uh-huh.
and gets it to around midfield or so, not in field goal territory, but a unsportsmanlike penalty on Louisville puts Stanford in field goal territory, and they kick the game-winning field goal as time expires.
See?
Terrible
That
loss for Louisville.
terrible loss.
Hmm
But
A
man,
game
that's
that
wild.
shouldn't have been close at home
No,
either. It's not like they were
no.
in Palo Alto. And
Boy, I
then,
bet you the Louisville crowd, I can
oh
only
yeah,
imagine when they left that, they were like, what the just happened? Like,
yeah, that
what?
was I think it was one of those win expectancy things where it was. I think Stanford was at like 8% or something
Yeah.
with under a minute to
And you
go.
look at both their conference wins, and you're like, how in the world did they beat
Yeah,
either Syracuse or
crazy
Louisville, considering
on
how
the
those
road.
teams look coming
Yeah,
into the game? Like, wow.
but both of them on the road too. That's the crazy part.
Yeah. On the
Uh,
road, a team that struggled mightily all season.
hmm But yeah, like I said, that hurts. Not a good one for
Yeah.
Louisville there.
No.
Um, and then Florida, DJ Lagway healthy
Wow.
came back and they beat LSU in the swamp.
Yeah. Broke that little streak, and
As the wheels are falling off for the Tigers.
wow. And you kind of predicted at the start of the season that was the Louisville, that you weren't sure about LSU at all.
Hmm
And Brian Kelly really seems to have lost his stuff. I mean, these have you seen the little thing where the video of he told the wide receiver pretty much you're uncoachable. What are you doing?
Yeah, he's just, and he's just so unlikable, man. And he
Jesus, it's not a
always,
good look
it
at him.
seems like, yeah, he seems like he's
Always
always
crying
blaming
about something.
and always blaming someone other than himself.
Yeah,
You know,
because I heard like part of his press conference afterwards, and he said, the players, and he said the coaches. Dude, it's like you doing the coaches because you had to. You said exactly what you felt. That he said he put the players first.
hmm
like, you shouldn't really even mention the players. I don't think as a coach, basically saying everybody needs to step up. If it's just tough situations. If you don't want to, you're gonna find out who wants to be here by how we come out the next 2 weeks. And I'm like, come
hmm
on, bro, chill out.
yeah. So that's
like
now 3 in a row
three
for the
straight, yeah,
Tigers, and it
all
doesn't
double
get,
digits.
yeah, and all, yeah, not particularly good looking games either.
No.
The team just hasn't looked good at all.
Uh,
And Vanderbilt comes to town next weekend, so
Yeah, you
it
never
doesn't
know. I mean,
it doesn't
you
get
got to
easier.
look at
Yeah.
it. You got to look at it. I mean, we've seen all the struggles with running quarterbacks, and what does Diego like to do? He likes to take off time to time. Maybe
hmm
not as fast as the other ones, but man, he can get a chunk yards on you in the quickness. So we'll see how that one goes.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is how good they were looking just a month ago.
Before that A&M game, they're undefeated in the SEC, looking
hmm
at the clearly in the front. Yeah. And I mean, playing good ball. I mean, they had a tough one against Ole Miss where they, didn't lead to the last play. But I mean, it was a great win at the point, and then went into College Station and great first half, and then after that, it just
Yeah, and they have not been the same team
imploded.
since. Yeah.
No, at all.
Um, let's see. Elsewhere around the country, Ohio State went down 7-0 to Northwestern, and then
So
got
wait a
pissed off
minute.
about it. Yeah,
Yeah,
and cruised to an easy win. Texas had their moments when they struggled with Arkansas, but ultimately
did they did?
put it away
Just too
late.
good. Yeah, they're just
Yeah,
too
just too
good.
much talent for them. But
Yeah,
we talked about Sam Pittman and needing his team to show some fight, and I think they did. They
they
just
showed enough
didn't have the
fight.
horses. Yeah, they just didn't have
No,
the horses.
no, they did a good job holding it because I thought when Texas scored that first touchdown real quick and everything, I was like, oh,
Hmm.
this might be a long day.
Yeah, it
But
could
yeah,
get
they held
rough.
their own there. I mean, for it to end up 20-10. I mean, where it could have, where I thought it was going, much better than that. So,
Hmm.
um, I mean, they still going for that bowl eligibility, but obviously they have their FCS type game coming up week. So hopefully
Hmm.
they can at least get the six there and then play Mizzou at the end of the year. But obviously for the rest next 2 weeks, we gotta be pro Mizzou a little bit, at least in one of the games. At least
Hmm.
have to be Mississippi State or Arkansas. So hopefully they can pull up one of those. But
Hmm.
who knows?
Yeah, and let's see. Penn State had an easy time with
Oh
Purdue.
boy, did they? Yeah,
Uh, Notre Dame, easy win over Virginia. Boise
you got
State, easy win over San Jose State. Ashton
yeah,
Genty, another 150 plus game.
dude.
Uh,
I was looking and and when he got the single season rushing record or something now at Boise, and I was like, man, where like you would think he's pretty close to the all time record. Right now he's third all time, but there's some dude in before our time really, and then Ian Johnson. But Ian Johnson had a full 4 years, and he's only in year three at Boise, and he's within a couple hundred of being an all time rusher in Boise State history. So I think he'll
Crazy.
get that done.
Yeah, just outstanding season for him.
Heck yeah.
Uh, SMU played it
Oof,
close
looks
for a little
close.
while
Yeah.
with Boston College, but pulled away in the end. Another great game
Weird.
from Jennings there. Yeah.
Yeah, weird week for Boston College though. Their quarterback, he got benched the week prior, and then he leaves the program, jumps in the transfer portal. So, and
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of tough. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously the other guy become the starter, but still, like, wow, that's big this time of the year. But they gave SMU a fight there. It was a big line. A lot of people thought SMU might roll there in that
Mm-hmm.
spot, and they hung around. But SMU. Showing some grit there because now they kind of people are starting to look at them. Like, oh man, this is a real team, and
Mm-hmm.
they found way to win games, and that's new for them. I mean, they haven't been in the Power Conference since shit the mid '90s. So I mean, and they were at the bottom of the barrel at that point. So I mean, this is new
Mm-hmm.
to them, and with so much pressure, and they're handling it pretty well. So
Well, yeah, absolutely. And then let's see, Texas A&M easy win over New Mexico
oh yeah,
State.
yeah,
Washington State, any hopes of a playoff are gone now. They lost to New Mexico. Kind of a shocking loss there.
yeah. That's
Um,
so weird
yeah,
loss. Like you're
it
like,
was,
wow.
it was on the defense too. They were up actually
Yeah.
28-14 at half too. So a second half
Mm.
choke. I mean, Mateer still balled out. He threw
Yeah.
375, 4 tutties, but
Ugh,
just
that's a bad
defensive,
loss.
defensive
Yikes.
laps there.
Yeah.
Clemson and Pitt played a good one. Cade Klubnik with
They
a
did. They did.
50-yard run for the score late in the game to
Mm-hmm.
win it for the Tigers and keep their ACC title in hopes
Playoff
alive.
hopes on
Yes,
because
slim
that.
playoff hopes.
I
Yeah.
mean, because you look at it. I mean, I really thought they were kind of out of it. Pitt would be
Hmm.
after what's his name's out. Is he out for the season now or?
Oh, Eli Holstein. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if he is out for the season or not. He definitely was
But
not in this game.
and I would say,
But
oh,
yeah,
that's gonna be tough. But they held their
but
own and did play
yeah,
well.
no, Yarnell, the backup, threw for 350 and a touchdown, threw 54 times, which you got to imagine that's not what
Two.
Pitt really wants to do. But
No.
tough streak for the Panthers after starting 7-0. They've lost 3 in a row.
Yeah.
They have to go to Louisville next week, so it doesn't,
Hmm.
still tough. That was their last
Yeah.
home game of the year. They got Louisville and
Ah.
BC both on the road in the year, so
Hmm.
unfortunate for them.
Yeah.
And then let's see, Tulane, easy win over Navy, 35-0 up
Oh,
there
they're
in
looking real.
Annapolis. Yeah, looking really good, really dangerous. That clinches the matchup for the American title game now.
Army
It'll be
and Tulane, right?
Tulane and Army. Yeah, still yet to be decided where that game will be
Yeah.
played. If it's in West Point or easy touchdown here for the Bengals.
Wow, and they're coming back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if it's in Tulane or New Orleans, but Tulane looking really dangerous. They're trying to, obviously Boise State has the big advantage right now in terms of rankings for
Right.
getting that group of 5 playoff spot, that 5th conference champion
But
playoff
what does
spot.
that do? If somehow Army finds a way to beat Notre Dame this weekend coming up, does that? I mean, what does that really? I mean, does that bump them above Boise at that point, or we'll see? I would assume
Yeah,
it might, considering how high Notre Dame is right now. But man, that's a huge game for Army.
yeah,
But
that's what
yeah,
comes down to it. That's really their playoff season on the line there.
yeah,
They need it for the playoff, unfortunately for
for
them.
sure.
But
Yeah. And
yeah,
hopefully they'll give a better outing than their service academy, the other
yeah,
service academy. I mean, and the Navy's seasons kind of hadn't been the same since.
yeah, they have kind of fallen off the rails there.
Yeah,
Though Air Force did get a rare win yesterday. They beat Oregon State. Uh,
that's a
so
good win for them.
not a good
But
season out there in Colorado Springs,
yeah,
but
not at all.
good win there. Uh,
Yeah.
let's go ahead. Anything else from yesterday you want to touch on, or ready to
Oh,
look at next week? I'm about to say I didn't.
yeah, we could. Yeah, I think we kind of went over most everything there. Just it was one of them weekends. Not a lot of I don't know when the sexiest weekend as far as the games, but yeah, some interesting outcomes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so let's look ahead next week. Some of the highlights, of course, Alabama traveling to Norman. Like we said, tricky game. Can't look past
It
them.
is tricky.
Like you said, a prideful program. Although you can't imagine that, as well as the Alabama defense has been playing
No,
lately, that
no.
that Oklahoma offense doing much of anything.
As long as the guys come in focused and not listen to anybody, and I think that's what it comes down to. They have to come in hungry and realize nothing's been accomplished yet. As long as they
Mhm.
come in with the right attitude, they'll be fine.
Yeah, I think exactly. It's it's business. Go handle business. It'll be a good test for the offense. Oklahoma
Yeah,
defense is still good.
right.
Let's see, and of course, big one in the Big Ten. Indiana travels to Columbus.
Oh, that's huge for the
Y-
Hoosiers because
yeah, we'll
I
see what
that
happens there. Yeah, obviously if they pull the upset, that'd be huge. But do they? If they get blown out, does the committee just tank them and
yeah.
decide that they were
And
just a
also, what does
product
a
of the
close? What
schedule?
does a
Yeah,
right? And what does a close win do? Loss for them do as well? I mean, they
yeah.
still get knocked, or did they say, "Hey, well, they actually went into Columbus, and put up a fight"? But
Hmm.
I think a lot of people expect them to get absolutely housed next weekend. I don't necessarily see that. That at no point have we really seen where Ohio State has really put up like points like maybe you would expect against some opponents.
Hmm.
I mean, they have the talent to do so, but I think Indiana's going to come to this game. They have nothing to lose. They're going to be ready to go, and Ohio State better be ready because I
Hmm.
think Kirk Cincinnati and those guys are going to come in. They're not scared of Ohio State. That's one thing. There won't be any intimidation there, so
No, absolutely not. Yeah, that is not. That's a
it'll be
confident
interesting.
team.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Let's see else. I got Army. We mentioned Army and Notre Dame next weekend. They play in Yankee
Mhm.
Stadium. That's the season for Army, and Notre Dame too. Really, I don't think that if they lose, I
No,
don't think
yeah,
they could
no. If
afford
they
another
if they
loss.
lose
Yeah.
that, I mean they can't. they can't have a second loss. I mean, especially consider who the first loss was to.
Mm-hmm. And how that has not, that loss has not turned around. It's not Alabama at Vanderbilt was bad at the time, but now it's like, okay, like it's not still,
It's not
you don't,
terrible, but I
you don't
mean,
want to lose it, but it's still, you're like,
right.
okay, I get it now.
Yeah, no,
But
they have not lived up to the to that game at all.
mm-mm,
From the Northern Illinois side, I mean, not even really relevant. They're not even in the MAC conversation at all. So yeah,
mm-mm.
nah,
It's crazy. Ole Miss visits Florida, which is now looking, tricky.
interesting
The
game.
swamp's always a tricky place. Ole Miss has to keep,
Yeah,
they got to handle their
have to
business to
win
keep in the
out.
playoff
Yeah,
conversation. Yeah. And at Florida, we know a healthy DJ Lagway that's looking potentially dangerous.
and then and that Florida defense has come a long way.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, they
that'll be
have.
an interesting game, because
And
just to
that's it.
see how they how well you would have to think Ole Miss is gonna come in prepare rep focus, because I mean obviously their playoff life is on the line.
Hmm.
But just how Florida comes into this game, because I mean they were on cloud nine after finally being LSU after five straight
Hmm.
losses there. So I mean they have to refocus. And, our thing was also if Billy can get to 6 wins this year and make a bowl game, that's a heck of a season considering the schedule and everything, all the unknowns with the Gators.
Hmm.
They're on the verge of that. They have 2 games to get to 6, so they really handled their business as of late. Ever since that blowout at Texas A&M against the Aggies at home, they've really turned their things around, been competitive. So, yeah, hopefully we'll see an interesting game on Saturday down in Gainesville.
Yeah. Yeah, it should be a fun one. And then big day in the Big 12, as we kind of talked about. You
Yeah.
got BYU visits Arizona State. And
Wow.
Colorado visits Kansas, both in
Hmm.
2:30 Central Time, middle of the day. Huge, like we said. Obviously, BYU needs a win to keep their spot in the
Right.
Big 12 title game. Arizona
Yeah.
State with a win, I think, could to put themselves in
Wow.
that conversation for it. They'd be tied on record. I don't know how the Big 12 tiebreakers work, but and then we mentioned how well Kansas is playing, and they need to win out to make a bowl. So
Yeah.
that is not an easy game for Colorado.
No. No.
They need to go in there
Huh.
and play
Yeah,
tough.
it's a very, very interesting weekend. Kind of shocked at that Arizona State game in that late night game. I thought in Tempe that might have been the late one there,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
no, it's
that'd be
weird. They got
interesting.
Iowa State and Utah's a later game, but
I
as
mean,
as
I get it.
Iowa's,
I get it.
yeah,
Going into the season, you kind of
hmm
that might be a hot game, but uh,
mm. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's something to do with uh, TV contracts or whatever. That game, the Colorado Kansas game, is also at Arrowhead, or Kansas is playing. So
okay,
I think
yeah.
is
So
Kansas playing all their games this year there, while I think their
have they?
stadium's being renovated. I know they played
Yeah.
Iowa State there, so I don't know if they're just
Yeah, I
playing
know
some
they
good
did.
games or
They
if
might be.
they
Yeah,
might be
because hmm,
doing some renovations on the
interesting.
stadium. But we mentioned that's 3 or 4 for Kansas now, with that one
Yeah,
loss being that 2-pointer at K State. So
yeah,
we mentioned they need it though. So it's Deion's going to have his boys ready and prepared, and like I said, Iowa State at Utah later. Iowa State is the other two-loss team right there with
yeah.
Arizona State, so they need to
And then
win
the other thing
themselves to
too is what's the name is really getting a lot of Heisman hype now.
Travis
Ever
Hunter.
since
Yeah,
ever since Miami took that loss, it seems like Travis Hunter's kind of jumped into the driver's seat with that. As
yeah,
far
he's
as
pretty much his odds are shooting way up. He's a big time
yeah,
favorite now. So since Ashton Genty is, it's tough to say slow down when a guy's still going for over 150 every game. But
right,
when he was over 200 for the first 5 games of the year,
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
and as a running back at Boise, he really needed to threaten
You
Barry
needed
Sanders'
eye
record.
popping numbers.
Yeah.
You need eye popping numbers just because it's Boise
Mhm.
State.
Yeah.
But if I mean. what Travis Hunter's done is, as everybody talks about, but I mean, it's been amazing. I mean, he's putting up huge numbers at the receiver, but then such quality on the other side of the ball as well. I don't know where he finds the energy from, but it's just amazing to watch. Just the fact that he's done it all season and it hasn't really dropped at all in the quality. And he's playing well over 100 snaps a game, which is wild
And putting up really
against
good,
quality
it's
opponents.
and putting up good stats too. Is not
Yeah,
just a ho hum.
yeah,
He's got almost 1,000 yards receiving, 9 touchdowns,
yeah.
and 74 receptions, and
Right.
I've seen some people trying to knock him down, like, oh, his defensive stats aren't that great. Well, I'm like, that's a sign of a good cornerback when you don't have a
Right. You
lot of,
don't want to
because it means they're
have a whole
not
bunch of
throwing him. Yeah,
tackles, and
yeah,
you don't want your corner to have a bunch of tackles. And I mean, yeah, I mean, if you're a lockdown corner, then people aren't throwing that direction. So it's a good thing that there aren't many stats on that side of the ball. I mean, that's the definition of a lockdown.
yeah, exactly. Let's see what else I got. We mentioned Vandy at LSU. As LSU tries to stop their slide.
Jeez.
Uh, just like I said, Vandy had a week off this week, so they've been preparing. So that could be
Yeah. Yeah.
interesting. UMass, that's Georgia's cake team next week.
Yeah.
Kentucky visits Austin.
Oh,
Should be a solid win for Texas, but
you would think so.
that schizophrenic Kentucky team,
Yeah. You never
never
know with
know when
them.
they might decide to put a scare in somebody.
Yeah.
They had themselves a good win. It was Murray State, albeit, but still 48-6 win yesterday.
All right.
Um, so good for them to get back on track. Let's see
That
anything
Ole
else
Miss
I
game
see.
still doesn't make sense to me.
And no, yeah, it's one of those weirder ones of the year. It's one of those you look back and
Oh
you're like, I
man.
don't understand
So
what
funny.
happened here. But
Yeah.
I see Arkansas has La Tech as they try to get to bowl eligibility themselves.
Yeah.
Texas A&M goes into Jordan Hare as Auburn. They need to win out themselves to get to bowl eligibility.
And A&M's trying to stay in the SEC championship game talk.
It's exactly A&M needs to keep winning.
Went out.
Obviously, there. So
Huh.
it'll be a tough hill to
Interesting
climb
game.
for the Tigers. Yeah, they another easy win for them yesterday over UL Monroe. But
Right.
uh,
But
oh,
look, more impressive. I mean, considering UL Monroe was having a good season. I think
mm-hmm,
they've lost a couple recently, but still, not the better than the better than some UNL Monroe teams have been as of late. There, when their
mm-hmm,
Bowden was there, they're pretty terrible.
yeah.
But they're
Let's see.
playing a little bit better. So, but for the Aggies, I mean, that pressure, and they really, I don't know. They don't really play well under pressure, as we saw
Mm-hmm,
going to South Carolina after the big win. So we'll see what they do with this one. Another pressure's game, a tough atmosphere going to Jordan here anytime. And but yeah, they just have to show that they're ready to go.
yeah. Let's see some games that will have impacts on conference races. Miami hosts Wake Forest next week as they had a bye week this week to rebound from their loss last week. SMU visits Virginia, and Clemson is done with their ACC schedule for the year.
Mm.
So I'm not sure how those tiebreakers work for the ACC. With if Miami wins out there, they'll
They're in.
Clemson and Miami owns a tiebreaker over Clemson. Because right now they would both be 7-1, and
That's right. I don't know.
they did not. Yeah, they didn't play head to head, so I'm
Oh,
not
wow.
sure. I don't know if it's common
Yeah, I
opponents
always
or
think
what. Yeah,
I don't know why I always think Clemson has two conference losses, but the other one was
Mm-mm.
a Georgia. So
Yeah,
else.
no. So yeah, not
I
sure
think
what's
it
going
would
on
go
there.
to whoever has the better. It's kind of like the SEC thing, the common opponents, the better
Mm,
record. I think that's where it
mm,
would go, and who knows where that's at, because they both played pro out of the same teams and not very good records. I don't think for either.
yeah. Well, that'll be
But
interesting. We
Miami,
should look that up. Yeah.
actually, I would think Miami, considering they beat Louisville and Louisville beat Clemson, that might be the difference in that.
Yeah, and Clemson, we talked about before like these last couple wins, none of their wins had come against teams with a winning record. So
Yeah.
if it's something with do
Miami.
with
Yeah.
strength of schedule, then it should be Miami.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's move to the Big Ten. We mentioned Indiana, Ohio State. Oregon has the week off next week. Penn State plays at Minnesota. They really don't have a path to that title game outside of. Honestly, I don't even know if they do have a path to the Big Ten title game at this point. USC and UCLA will play for the first time
The
as
rivalry. Big
as a
Ten.
Big Ten rivalry.
Hmm.
USC beat Nebraska. Yes, Nebraska's still
Yeah.
looking for win number
For
6.
6. Oh my God. I don't
They
think it's
can't do it.
happening. They got
They
Wisconsin
host
and Iowa.
they host Wisconsin next week, so that's their next
Jesus.
shot at it. It's just insane. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Um,
They've had like a month to
mhm.
get to 6 wins and they can't find it. Oh, that's tough for them. Like, it's just
Absolutely
wild.
tough. Yeah, brutal. Boise
They even
State
brought
and,
in
and
what's his name to be their offensive coordinator. I don't
oh,
know what
Dana
the
Holgerson. Yeah, Dana
yeah.
Holgerson. Yeah. So
I don't know about that. Like what what are you guys doing? I don't know. That seems very desperate. And dude, he ran a whole program into the ground. I'm sorry, he
yeah.
did. I understand he's the offensive coordinator, but man, he ran a whole program that was up and up when you came in
Mhm.
into the ground at Houston.
Yeah.
I don't
It's tough. Boise State still looking to keep on track. They visit Wyoming. Wyoming having
know.
a really bad season there, so that
Yeah,
shouldn't be a problem for
should be good.
Boise. And then in the American, we mentioned Tulane and Army have already clinched their spot, but they
Mhm.
obviously need to
Want to
keep
keep
winning.
winning.
Tulane looks like they have the week off next week, so
Okay,
they will rest up for whatever their last
interesting.
game is.
Yeah,
But that should do it for the college game. Let's go ahead and move to the pros. Some big division tilts this week
very good
in
games.
NFL. Yeah, Thursday night started Thursday night. The Eagles beat the Commanders
Hmm.
in a big NFC East battle. Another huge game for Saquon Barkley. And then today, a couple big ones. Early on, the Steelers beat the Ravens in
Oh,
just a
that's a
sloppy,
tough one
ugly
for you
game.
guys.
It's just it's a voodoo. This is now 8 of 9 the Steelers have taken. Lamar
I
Jackson is only
couldn't.
1 of 5 against them.
Oh my God, I couldn't
Uh,
believe that what's the name missed 2 field goals in the first
oh
half like
yeah,
that. I was
Justin
like,
Tucker
what?
missed back-to-back field goals for the first time I think since 2017. I saw, uh, and just creating that was the difference in the game, and just
Yeah.
uncharacteristic mistakes. The Ravens had gone, I think, 4 or 5 straight games without a turnover. They had 3 today, 2 fumbles, which led to 2 Pittsburgh field
Yeah.
goals, and then a freak interception late in the game when Justice Hill
Oh,
ran a little wheel route out of the
yeah.
background. Lamar dropped a dime in there, but then the defender, who was just trailing
Fought him to the
Hill,
ball.
yeah, just kind of
Kept
stripped the
fighting.
ball from Hill
Yeah.
as they're falling to the ground.
Well, he played till the whistle, I guess. But man, that was
Yeah,
crazy. But he was beat.
that was a big moment because it was right after the
Yeah.
Ravens got a big pick in the end zone off of Russell. It looked like
Yeah. Marlon Humphrey had a big
it
interception.
looks like the Steelers could have really put the game away. Marlon Humphrey gets an interception end zone. The Ravens start driving, and had
Yeah.
Justice Hill hung on to that pass, I think they would have been first
Oh
and 10
yeah,
at the
they would have
20
been.
or so. So,
Yeah.
and then
Well,
they do come
came
back
all the
and
way
get the
back.
touchdown,
Yeah.
and get the touchdown at the end, and then just that was a terrible 2-point play call.
Because somebody either didn't run the right route because I think Lamar thought someone was gonna. They even were talking about that like where someone was supposed to be there because obviously Lamar was looking for someone to pass the ball to and
Yeah, it
nobody
didn't
was.
look. It looked like kind of a similar play they ran. Maybe was it last week or no, the Cincinnati game? Yeah, so that was last
Mhm.
week.
Yeah.
When he kind of ran out he sprinted to his right that time though, and it looked like is just one of those QB sweeps, and then he just dunked it over the top. But yeah, no
Right.
one was there. But the big thing that I saw was why don't you have Derrick Henry on the field in that
Dude,
situation?
exactly.
Because everyone then keys on Lamar. So if that was a design run, then you made it obvious. And I'm honestly looking at the play, he probably at the play should have been the jet sweep to Flowers because it looked like he could have had the corner there.
Yeah. I
But
don't know. It's a weird
either way,
call.
yeah, why Derrick Henry isn't on the field right there to at
Yeah.
least give the defense a
Give that
couple of
idea that maybe we're gonna run it.
yeah, like give them a couple players to think about.
Because he had some big runs, not a lot of carries, but some big runs there against
No, yeah, it was
Steelers.
yeah,
So
yeah. It was one of those things where you're kind of
no,
like, why, with the
yeah,
offense struggling like it was, why aren't you leaning on Derrick Henry because he was having success?
yeah. I know as Raven fans, you guys are wondering what the hell is with this game.
It is, and I was funny. I was texting friends earlier. I was just like, I have just stopped stressing over this game because I know it's going to be dumb. I know they're going to play uncharacteristic.
Yeah.
It's especially in Pittsburgh. It's just going to be
Oh
weird,
yeah.
and Pittsburgh's going to do some fluky shit. I mean, but
Yeah.
the defense,
Held
much
their own.
maligned all year, yeah, held them to all field goals, hold them to six
Yeah.
field goals, and
6 field goals. Isn't that like the second or third time that Pittsburgh's won off all field goals? I swear it
I
is.
believe they did it the first week against Atlanta or something like that too. Yeah,
They won like 15-12 or something. Yeah.
yeah,
Just
15, 13, something weird like that.
something
So
weird. So
credit
it's
to
not
their
their first
defense.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they did a good job on their defense holding you guys there. I guess the other, what was the other turnover where likely he just got,
Oh yeah,
bo-
just
that was ugly. He got blessed and yeah.
yeah, but it was just those two. Like I said, two. A fumble on what, like
But
the
those,
second play of the
but yeah,
game.
but you look at those, you think, man, those 2 field goals, you guys win the game.
Yeah,
And
yeah, exactly.
he
If
probably won't miss another field goal for the rest of the season.
he did come back later in the game, hit a
Yeah,
54
he
yarder.
booted at
So
54, but they're just like,
yeah,
what
and
the hell?
knowing the type of guy he is too, there is no
Wow,
one
the
angrier than
Bengals
another touchdown as
and tied it up.
mm,
They were down
it's crazy.
27-6.
Yeah, this was not a close game. 27 to
No,
3, even weren't they? Uh, I don't know.
very.
Yeah,
This
but
is very Charger like
yes.
from past staffs. Uh,
Yeah, so Jim Harbaugh. Some things don't change, I guess. I think it's all karma for moving out of San Diego,
yeah,
personally.
could be. Makes
But
sense.
that's just Jamar Chase, also, man. He's just running them defenders
He's
ragged.
man, for as bad as that team, I mean, and they've been in some close games, but Jamar just keeps going. Like that dude is ridiculous.
Keeps going, and then Joe Burrow again. You have to give him all credit because again, just seeing that replay, he took another shot. Man, he just
Yeah,
gets the shit kicked out of him back there and
dude, they
takes it, man.
still haven't figured out at all offensive line at all.
Mm-mm.
They just
The
kind
Matt,
of feel like they gave up on it. Like they just,
yeah.
eh,
Uh, uh, but it's funny because people have talked about that ever since they made the pick of Jamar Chase. Like, should they have gotten? I forget who it was
the
Sewell. It might
dude
have been
from
Penny
it was
Sewell.
Sewell from
Yeah,
was that Oregon guy? Yeah,
Oregon. Yeah, he got. They were. Should
he's
we
in
get someone to
Detroit, right?
protect Burrow or should we get Chase? And it's hard to argue against Chase because the connection he and Burrow have, and he's
Yeah,
obviously been absolutely great there. But
and you know what?
they got to do
You
something.
think,
Either through the draft,
yeah,
trades, free agency. You got to
but I
protect your
think
franchise quarterback, man.
crazy as sounds, I think they made the right choice because without that, they made it. It might have been a little fluky, but they did make that Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they make that Super Bowl if if Jamar's not on that team.
No, and I agree. I think it's the right choice, but they gotta. That means you
They
have to
got to
address
figure
the
it out
line.
because
Yeah.
his career, he's already had plenty of injuries. So his
Mm-hmm.
career is going to be way shorter than what it should be if things continue like that.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so it's a tie ball game. About 12 minutes left here.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
good should be a good finish as the Bengals, still desperate to
Yeah.
turn their season around. Of course, the other big one today: Chiefs and Bills, and the
What a
Bills
game that was.
handed the Chiefs their first loss as Josh Allen he had one of his great
Josh
run of his
Allen,
own
big.
to seal that game. He said, "Nah, I'm putting this one away."
He said, "Not today, Kansas City.
Mm-mm.
Not
Yeah,
today."
he said, "No fluky shit. We're not settling for a field goal and giving y'all away back in this. No
Hey, he
13
said
seconds right here. Yeah,
that
no,
was a grown man run.
it was. It was a grown man run. And is Buffalo the best team in the league right now?
Man, they've been playing some good football recently.
Mm-hmm.
It's either them or Detroit.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of Detroit, just murdered Jacksonville today.
Yeah.
52 to
Wow.
6. Uh,
Jesus.
Jameson Williams getting back in the action with a deep touchdown.
Then Gibbs had
Ross
a hell
St.
of a
Brown.
day.
Yeah, Jameer Gibbs just I think had a run at one point where he hit like 22 miles an hour.
Wow.
Amon-Ra St.
They,
Brown, 11 catches, 161, 2 touchdowns. He now
they
has
just
touchdown
have
catches
so
in
many
like 10 straight
weapons.
games, I think.
Yeah. They have so many weapons there, and then that
Mm-hmm.
defense has gotten better.
Mm-hmm. It improves that defense gets better every week. And yes, Jacksonville, so don't take too much
Yeah, I mean, but
from it. But
still,
they did what they were supposed to do,
50.
right? Mm-hmm.
Anytime in the NFL, when you put up 50 some, I don't care. That's impressive. You're going up against
Mm-hmm.
other pros, regardless of the team. You're still putting up 50 some in the NFL. I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't happen that much in today's NFL. As
No.
explosive as offensive are and point and yards and stuff, 50 is still a huge ass number in the NFL. So,
Mm. Yeah. Other interesting that the Broncos routed the Falcons today.
did they? Wow.
Uh, yeah, big win for them. And then the Seahawks beat the 49ers.
They did.
Interesting game
Interesting.
there.
Good win for them.
Is that NFC West just continues to be
It's a
absolutely
wild one.
crazy.
It's the
Yeah, as
Big
the
12 of it's the Big 12 of divisions.
it is as the Rams they struggled a little bit in the end there, but they beat the Patriots. Big day, Matt Stafford,
Yeah,
4 touchdown passes.
and Akua had the wide receiver.
Yep. Yeah. 7 catches, 123 and a touchdown. Yeah. Um, yeah, that makes that NFC West now. Arizona's leading at 6-4. Then the other three teams are all 5-5. And then looking ahead to next week, Cardinals visit Seattle, and the 49ers have to go to the Packers, and the Rams host the Eagles. So just uh, yeah, yeah, crazy. Uh, yeah, so if you look through some of the standings right now, you got Buffalo running away with the AFC East. Pittsburgh, huge win now because that's a 2-game lead for them, plus 1 win over the Ravens. So the Ravens need to get their win back later in the year. But that's now 5 straight wins for the Steelers. Russ is 4-0 since taking over as starter. Uh, just absolutely, yeah, crazy. Houston, 6-4, leading the AFC South. Uh, yeah, yeah. Let's see, Indy's 5-6 behind them. Anthony Richardson back starting for them, and yeah, they beat the Jets as the Jets lose again. Yeah, but no, good game from Richardson too. Mhm. Yeah, yeah, crazy. And of course, the West, the Chiefs running away with it. Though, if the Chargers can hold on, hmm yeah, yeah, but over in the NFC, the Eagles, that big win, now a 2-game lead over Washington. The Lions still just a 1-game lead over Minnesota, but they do have that head-to-head win as the Vikings did get a win over the who did they play? The Titans, and not an overly impressive win, but a win nonetheless. hmm the NFC South just continues to be a mess as the Falcons still leading at 6-5 over the Bucks at 4-7. The Saints another win now as they won now two in a row after firing Dennis Allen. Um, mhm. Yeah, I mean, according to every Saints fan I know, he definitely was the problem. So, yeah, and of course we mentioned that crazy NFC West. And next week, along with the 3 games I talked about, the Ravens and Chargers play Monday night in the old Har Bowl. So yeah, that'll be a crazy one. But yeah, moving on. Oh wait, hold up here. It says your recording has failed. Everything up until now has been saved. To continue recording, tell them to stop and restart the studio. Restart the studio recording, but you're still rolling here, so Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and we're back. Still
Oh,
going. All
weird.
right. Well, yeah, we'll see. I'll fix that in editing. Yeah, let's move on to the rest of the sports world here. NBA, the Cavs are still unbeaten.
Still undefeated. Look at them.
Crazy, 15-0 now.
They
Uh,
are. They're
uh,
looking good.
they even rested Devin Mitchell today.
Yeah.
So he got news. Inside the NBA will officially air on ESPN and ABC starting next year.
Yeah.
So
It's weird
same.
though. They'll still be in the Turner Studios and Turner's recording
Yeah,
it.
they'll still be
But
producing. TNT Sports will still produce it, still record it there, still the same crew, but
it
aired
won't be
on.
every. It's weird. It won't be every game. It'll be like big. It'll be like start of the year, Christmas, and then playoffs, and but it won't.
Yeah,
I don't.
looking at
It's
the
weird.
report, it said it'll be where you had it right. It was like Christmas games, early big game. You know, obviously opening day, Christmas games. I just had it there. It is. The playoffs and the finals, and then they said it will also likely ABC has a primetime package for Saturday night games
Saturday
after
night. That's
football
what it is.
season.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it'll probably air
Yeah.
during that. So
Okay.
it should have the same feel. It just won't be as much as we're used to it, at least until the second half of
As
the season.
probably
Yeah.
right.
Uh,
And
but
I
yeah,
wonder if they'll. I know ESPN's a family guys, so I wonder if supposedly how with the Disney connection, if they'll change the way of the show at all. Well, hopefully
hmm
they'll just let it go because I mean they gotta let
yeah,
these guys be themselves. I mean that's why they're inside the NBA is still because because I would like. I know we had talked about it some, and you'd have to think, man, without the inside the NBA anywhere, that'd be ridiculous.
hmm
So just let them be them, and
uh, yeah, no, and them still being produced by TNT Sports is hopefully
yeah,
a
that's
good
probably the
sign
good thing.
there.
Yeah,
Other than
because
that, yeah.
honestly, I think ESPN does a great job, like in the game as far as the in-game announcers and sideline and stuff.
Mhm.
But that halftime post game is
Oh,
just so.
it's a mess. Yeah, it's a jumbled mess. It's
Oh
boring.
man,
Yeah, it's yeah.
oh my goodness.
Let's
So
see.
happy that they're going to be the guys. Because that was always the thing, after the Western Conference Finals, you're like, why can't they be the finals guys?
Yeah,
Because now they don't call they'll be the team for the finals, so that'll be great.
yeah. And clearly, the everyone's favorite, the best studio crew in the
Oh,
game.
obviously. Yeah.
Let's see. Other than that, looks like our Pels and Mavs will play
Struggle.
Tuesday. They're struggling
Mhm.
too, but they'll play each other Tuesday.
Yeah.
Um,
Because I think we won today, if I'm not mistaken.
hmm Yeah, at this point in the year, yeah. And it's weird. The Pelicans, lost to the Lakers the other night, but somehow beat the Nuggets earlier this week. So uh, big game from Brandon Ingram is how they did it. But as they continue
Right.
just to be ravaged by injuries,
Yeah. Just so
just
horrible.
insane to look at. Yeah, insane to look at their. Uh, oh, I didn't realize Jokic didn't play in that game they win. Well, that usually helps. Uh,
That'll help.
let's see. Anything I see the Wings of the WNBA won that draft lottery.
All right, so I'll probably take the Yukon star.
Yeah. What is her name? Yeah. No, that's probably it. And then other than that, just I guess that's pretty much it from the sports world. You have anything else you wanted to touch on?
Um, I'm trying to think.
Paige Buchers. That's
Yeah, Paige. Yeah,
oh, thank you.
she's been. outside of her injury, she's been amazing at UConn. So
Hmm.
hopefully continue to stay healthy and give them another run before heading on. Outside of that, to be, I think it's gonna be interesting this next couple of weeks there. Just with folks that are gonna jump in the transfer portal, I think it's
Hmm.
gonna be very interesting. We're gonna get that early signing, which has really become the signing day in December.
Hmm.
There's some flips around the country right now. Like the USC got a flip from what was it? Was it Florida? I forget, but USC got a big quarterback flip, but they might be losing but that may be because they're losing their guy, went to the portal, and it's looking like that might be Prime's next move at Colorado.
Oh,
So
interesting.
yeah,
Oh, big
it's
interception
some
here for
um,
Chargers.
huge interception.
Oh, flag on the play.
So I think it's gonna be very interesting, just because with all the money flying around, and then that transfer portal, it's gonna be interesting because I think it's gonna be a lot of people moving around.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah,
oh,
it's
they didn't
the kind
call. Oh, wow,
they
they didn't call that. Oh, I'm shocked.
they didn't. Oh, that is absolutely shocking for the NFL.
Jeez,
Well, there's a pretty bad roughing the passer yesterday. What game was that? One of the earlier games. Somebody got called for roughing the passer, and it was pretty bad.
was
Yeah, even like they had the ref specialist on there or whatever, and he
and
was
he was
like,
one of
"Yeah,
them.
yeah." He was like, "I don't see how you can throw this flag."
Oh
He was
yeah,
saying this. Yeah, I wish I could remember, but it was. I know the coach was hot. Yeah,
you
another.
know, the ESPN dude, he's been pretty legit because he doesn't always agree with the refs, on the field,
Hmm.
which is for a while it seemed like they would always go with the refs no matter what. But
Hmm.
I think they've gotten better at, well, maybe, but
Yeah, it's what you want. You just want some, and be honest with us. It's kind. I think
yeah,
it's kind of what people. Why Tom Brady is failing as an announcer so far because he's not really giving us that detailed analysis that everyone thought that
no,
he could bring. And if you're going to
it
have
might
these
just be
refs
this is
on to
new to
talk
him.
about all these, yeah, that's true. If you're going to have all the, ooh, that is, ooh. Oh wait, so did they
Yeah,
call? Why did they negate the interception? I missed that in the Chargers game.
so they must have called the okay.
Offsides or something? Well, they didn't call it. Yeah, it's because it's third down now. Missed something there, but anyway. Uh,
Yeah, they must have called that.
yeah. Let's see. Oh, here's a notable something else from sports. We don't talk a lot of NHL here, but Alex Ovechkin has now had a hat trick today versus Vegas. He is now up to 866 career goals as he chases Wayne Gretzky's all-time mark of 894.
Huh,
So he was within 30 now, 28 away.
wow,
Um, just
might be
absolutely
one that
crazy. Hmm.
might be one he gets eventually.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly can do it. He is talented. That
That's
is
a
also,
bit.
though, that is also, I always, uh, the told us that the NHL, does points. You get a point for a goal and a point for assist. And I always like to,
Yeah,
when people talk about the most unbreakable records in sports, Cal Ripken's all-time streak in baseball is a lot comes up. Joe DiMaggio's hitting streak.
yeah.
I love to bring up Wayne Gretzky's point streak. Wayne Gretzky finished his career with 2,857 points. Second place is Jaromir Jagr, 1,921 points. That's almost a 1,000 point difference.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
even more amazing stat: Wayne Gretzky, 1,963 assists. So that means that he had more assists than Jaromir Jagr had total points, and
God,
Jaromir Jagr is second all time. It is
yeah,
absolutely
just
insane. Just
ridiculous.
to show you again, just to tell people how good exactly Wayne Gretzky
Wayne Gretzky
was.
was.
He was that dude. Um,
He was that. Yeah,
mhm,
I mean, as a kid, honestly, that's the only reason I knew about hockey for a long time.
mhm.
Because you hear about Wayne Gretzky, so you want to find out who is it. And you want to,
Yeah,
as
yeah.
it's hard to watch hockey, especially back in the '90s. But just with where it was at. But
Yeah, that's
Yeah. I mean, he
so
was clearly the MJ and beyond of hockey.
yeah, just absolutely astounding. But pretty
Ridiculous.
good, current generation. They're getting
No,
toward the
yeah.
end of their careers, but Alex Ovechkin, approaching that goal total, and then Sidney Crosby, who came in the league. I want to say maybe the same season. He's played a couple hundred less games due to injuries, but he is
Yeah,
actually.
but yeah, we're right. Because
Mhm,
for a while that was gonna be the biggest rivalry.
and they had it out for a few years. Both got
Yeah, they
their
did.
Stanley Cups, and Sidney
Hmm.
Crosby is, of course, top 10 all time in points as well. So he's
Right.
slowly making
Yeah,
his way up that list.
but he's had so much time injured though. But we'll kind
Yeah,
of
he
both
has.
have. Like
Yeah. Um, it's crazy. And I got this records pulled up now, and the one that always stands out to me, and I was actually a big Penguins fan growing up. The person that got me into hockey was from the area, but Mario Lemieux, I always like to point out,
yeah.
is maybe one of the biggest. Man, if he could have stayed healthy, guys, he obviously, had
Oh yeah.
Hodgkin's
Absolutely.
disease during his career, a couple of injuries, but missed
Mhm.
years due to cancer. Took away years from his.
Wow.
He is eighth all time in points, and where you look at what's crazy about that is he only played 915 career games, and everyone around him played 1,500, 1,700.
Wow.
It shows you how
It's just
good.
ridiculous how
Yeah,
good he was. Yeah, for
yeah, it
sure.
shows you how
Yeah,
good he was, and if he could have
I
played a
remember when
full
it.
career, he'd have been up there with
Yeah,
Gretzky.
yeah, I remember when he got sick, and you're like, man, you just hate to hear. Even that's crazy.
Yeah, I remember watching the comeback game live too. He scored a goal in his
Oh
first game
yeah,
back. It's one of those
epic.
poetic. Oh, and a missed field goal here.
Missed field goal. Yeah,
Oh, this game's going to be a tight finish here in
that's
Los Angeles.
yeah.
But
Just like last week, crazy
yeah,
ending.
but yeah. All right. That should do it for us, folks. So, Greg, what has been done up real good for you?
Well, just I guess just to get through this week. A lot of people been sick in the house. So been taking care of folks. But hey, we made it through the week. On to another one. So been busy, tiresome, but some weeks are like that. But how'd you make it out alive and everybody's getting healthier? That's all that you can ask for. How about you?
Let's see. I'll say the wife and I went to Atlanta last night for a concert, and then
Hmm.
I'll say the kindness of strangers is what's done it real good. We were having trouble with a Ticketmaster, of course, who they didn't send the wife a QR code that they were supposed to. So we were trying to call them and we're on hold. And this guy kind of walked up and was like, "Are you looking for tickets?" And we're like, "Actually, yeah." And he had a couple of his friends that had to cancel last minute. So we went in and he's like, "Oh yeah, we'll work out payment afterwards." And then I bought him a couple of drinks, and then after he just said, "No, you're good." And he left toward the end of the show. He had to leave and meet some friends. But so
That's amazing.
yeah, thank you to him.
Wow,
Yeah, it's nice to have
that's
that
epic.
community. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah,
Wow, that's awesome.
yeah. So yeah, that was nice. But
There.
other than that, folks, that does it for us this week. A little shorter one for y'all this week. How about that? Uh, I'm sure we'll have some plenty to talk about in the coming weeks, though.
Oh yeah.
As always, thank you for listening. Do subscribe and give us good ratings and likes wherever you listen to your podcast. Do please tell your friends or anybody you think would enjoy the show about us, or anybody who would like to sponsor the show. Check out the alabamatake.com for writings and follow us on all the social medias. I know everybody's migrating over to Blue Sky now, and I know the Alabama Take account has skyrocketed in followers. Hey, be sure to follow the Take It On Sports account. If you do, I promise I will post more, um, and then I will break that promise. But check us out on all that. Listen to all the great podcasts in the Alabama Take family of podcast and keep it done up real good yourselves out there. Greg, buddy, I will
Yes,
see you next week.
yes, sir.